And you often talk about Eastern philosophies. How'd you end up in the world of Eastern philosophies? And you talk about things like integrity, inclusiveness, honesty, and you believe in a triad. I want you to kind of go deeper into what that means.
Wow, you are going deep. And this is a relationship. This is actually a really cool relationship. There was a guy I had met, like, you know, I was going to say 100 years ago, but
Probably 200.
getting old, right? And I had met him through a friend at the gym. Just a relationship I had at the gym, and he'd turn around and he said, "Hey, Bob, I think just the way you talk and the way you think and stuff like that." I said, "I recommend this course for you." And it's about, Eastern philosophy. It was called the HOT program, but all he did was take like a couple people, every year, take 10 people max, and paid, I think, something like $5,000 for this course. And he said it was about Eastern philosophies, right? And it was called HOT, and it was called high order of thinking, so a different way of thinking. So it's already been invented thousands of years ago in an Eastern, a combination of a Taoism and a few others. And he said, this is the way critical thinkers think like. And I went, wow, I need to think different, right? And there were so many things, because the number one thing he came at me with was relationships, right? But he called it relations. And he goes,
what's the difference between relations and relationships?
I didn't know that either until he told me his definition of it, right? And all he did was convert it to English. And relations was the ability to create new relationships and make existing ones better. And I'd never heard that in my life, right? And he goes like that. And I wanted to brag about all my relationships. So he's going in. First thing, one of his key parts is relations. And we talked about that for quite a bit. I sat there and he goes, "Who are your relationships?" And then I'm off. I brag it. No, from this team and that. And I got that team and that. And I got these buddies here and that. Then he slowed me down. Stops. He goes, "Okay, who don't you have good relationships with?" I was just wanting to tell him the good ones. I didn't want to tell you the shitty ones, you know what I mean? And I remember him calling me out on, I said, well, example, I'd probably say I don't have a good relationship with the guy I compete against the Olympics, Bruce Baumgartner, right? And he goes, "Well, why not?" And I said, well, it was all my fault for sure, now looking back on it, because he was a cocky American, ranked number one in the world. World Cup, I lost to him. Pan American Games, I lost. You know what I mean? The scenario goes in and out, and every major tournament or something like that. Guess who I lost to? Him, right? So he was the person I didn't like. So, and didn't talk to him because the competition that I'd lost to him, a whole bunch of other things. And so he goes, "Why don't you offer?" You know what I mean? And go out and build a relationship with him. "No, you don't understand. He's a cocky American. He's an asshole. He's this, that." I had every excuse in the world, right? And he said, "The ability to create new relationships, Bob." And when are you going to offer him, olive branch, hand it out to him? And we're at a tournament, and he drew a tough match right off the bat. And I walked up to him, and we're in the middle of nowhere. I think it was Tbilisi in Georgia or something like that. Tough tournament, tons of, back then, everybody calls it Russia now, but it was Soviet Union back in my day. And he turned around, and I reached out to him, and I said, "Hey, Bruce, you drew da-da-da-da-da." And he goes, "Yeah." I said, "Tough match first off. Could I help you warm up today?" You know what I mean? Because he's 6'2", probably close to 300 pounds. I'm 6'4", 275 probably at the time, 265, 275. But you need a big guy to, kind of warm you up and do all the stuff. Plus, we're in a country, no one speaks English. We're the only two, Canada and the United States. So I offered him the olive branch, and we started and warmed him up and everything. He goes out and wins the match. I drew with the East German at the time, and he was a top-ranked guy in the world at the time too. He goes, so he comes back to me. He goes, "Bob, you drew Schroeder." I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Hey, can I help you?" And he returned the offer to me. And guess what we started?
A relationship.
So we chatted and we helped each other and stuff like that. And I'm at, the story goes crazier because I'm at home. Well, I shouldn't say home. I'm 21 years old. I'm training, obviously for the Olympics in the spring. And I get a phone call. I'm just in my dorm apartment at the university. And I get a call, and I don't even know who it is. And I get the call, and I go, "Hey, Bob, hey, who is this?" And he goes, "Bob, it's Bruce." I go, "Bruce who?" You know what I mean? Like, who the hell are you? And he goes, "It's Bruce Baumgartner." I go, "Bruce, how did you get my name?" He goes, "I phoned the athletic director there at your university, and he gave me the wrestling coach, and your wrestling coach, I phoned him, and they transferred to him, and he said, 'Oh, you want Bob Molle?' Yeah, I said, I want to talk to him about training with me, and I gave you a number. That's why he started talking." I said, "What's up?" And he goes, "Well," I says, I got an offer to make you." And I'm just like, "An offer?" I'm just standing here. So here's the number one ranked guy in the world, right? And well, so you know how good he was, because he was the first Olympic wrestler ever to win 4 Olympic medals in 4 consecutive Olympics, right? 84, 88, 92, 96. It had never been done in the world before in the history of all the Olympics. No one's ever done that consistently. That's how well Bruce was. But he phoned me up and he just says, "Hey, I get all this money." And I go, "What do you mean get all this money?" He says, "Well, I get sponsored, like could be Walmart with Walgreens. In the United States, you guys got kind of private funding or public funding. You don't, we get enough room and board and stuff like that, but you're not rich or anything. You know what I mean? Yeah. Covers your costs. Down there, they have sponsorship. So they have a full marketing team that'll sponsor them. Could get a check in from Walgreens because you're the number one ranked guy in the United States there in the world, right? Could be Walmart, Walgreens. You know what I mean? Could be anything. Big sponsor, and they just say, "Hey, good luck in the Olympics," and they give you, here's 1,000, here's 5,000, that. And he goes, I said, "Well, what are you telling me this for?" And he goes, "Well, I can't use the money and go buy clothes. I can't buy a car. I can't buy a house. I got to use it for training dollars." Ooh. And he says, "I want you to be my training dollars." And he was just standing there. I'm going, "You're 21 years old. You got the number one wrestler in the world. He's inviting you down. And you know what I mean? What's the value of a good relationship, right?" Yeah. And so I'm standing there and I'm just like on the phone like this, and I'm just going, you know what I mean? I just go, so he says, "I'm the assistant coach at Oklahoma State University." It was the number one ranked university wrestling team at the time, and in the States. And he comes on, "I'm the assistant coach here." He says, "How about if I fly you down to Oklahoma State in Stillwater, Oklahoma?" He says, "I'll rent you a house. I'll get all the tickets so we can go to every cafeteria so you got food all the time and stuff like that. And how about you and I get ready for the Olympics together?" And he says, "Oh, I want one other thing. I want to talk to you about other wrestlers we should bring in to train with us so we can get ready for the Olympics." And I went, wow, is this unbelievable? Did this just really happen? You know what I mean? But it all started with the ability of me getting called out on, you need to build more relationships. Right?
So the high order of thinking, basically. So essentially the high order of thinking pushed you to build relations, not relationships. And through those relations, that was your first introduction to Bruce, although you guys had competed against each other but never had a proper conversation. But we never really talked.
You just kind of grunt when you walk by him, right?
But you got comfortable being uncomfortable by putting your hand out there and offering him a favor. He returned that favor because that's how a relationship works. It's never one-sided. It needs to be balanced. And from that, you were able to train with the number one wrestler in the world.
Hold on. Paid for.
Paid for.
"I'll fly you down. I'll rent you a house, furnished house. You got this, and we got all the facilities. My wife's the athletic trainer. She'll take care of our injuries, right? And then you got your food. You got everything, right? Wow. And then he's bringing in top-notch people too. But one of the best things he taught me was, because we didn't have internet back then, and I didn't know if he really trained that much different than I did. And he changed, we talked about context change. I love when someone changes my belief system or something like that. Shocks me. And he walked into the room, and wrestling's the oldest sport in the world, right? There's a million moves, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody knows the Turkish leg, right? Everybody knows a Russian armbar. Everybody, all the different countries perfected different moves and stuff like that. And he had, because we didn't have the internet, so you got to think we had VHS tapes. You walked in a room, it was very similar to this. And all it was stacked with VHS tapes. So he had all the wrestlers from all the world. So, you want to pull China off, you want to pull Turkey off, you want to pull Japan off. What's that person, we're going to be at the Olympics. What's he do? What's his main moves? What's he that? And then I start going, wow, I'm going to try this on him, and this. He goes, "Bob, And he slowed me down. He goes, we're only using 3 moves. That's it. What are our top 3 moves we're going to use on each wrestler if we get that? I went, what are you talking about? I got 100 moves, you know what I mean, that I think are great, you know? And he goes, no, we're only doing 3. And that's what taught me right then. I just went, I was just shattered. I just went, you're kidding me, aren't you? Like, no, what 3 moves are we going to do to win that match? Because in 6 minutes, we're doing our best moves and we're going to repeat them over and over again. You know, that's when I found out about, you know, really working on your A's, you know, your strengths.
The report card theory.
Yeah. I don't have to work on my C, my B, or anything like that. All we're working on is what are you great at, right? And we're going to R&D that, rob and duplicate. We just keep going, right? And that. And then he changed my mindset on that because we'd study all these films and say, okay, what 3 moves we're going to do on this one? What 3 moves we're going to do on this one? And we, you know, there's a lot of them were like 80-20 rule, 80% of the stuff, we're just doing 3 moves. That's all that's going to happen. And you go look back in my matches and guess what? How many moves I did?
3 matches. Wow. So essentially
3 moves. That's it. That's it.
All you did was double down on your strengths. And just for more context, Bob has a theory called the report card theory. Yeah. And what it means is when we go home to our parents when we were kids, we'd show them our report cards. We'd have 4 A's and 1 C or 1 D, in my case, many, many F's. And all they'd focus on was the F's, the D's, and the C's, and they would completely disregard the A's.
Exactly.
And what that told us from a very young age was we need to focus on our weaknesses. But in real life, we need to focus on our strengths. And we need to double down on those strengths and delegate everything else off.
Changed my life. Because all of a sudden, I don't think of that. You know, it's like business. Like, what do I do? You know, do I do bookkeeping? No. Do I do legal? No, I outsource it. It's not my strength. I don't do it. No, you need to learn that. No, I don't. I don't like it. I'm not good at it. Yep. Why not work on your strengths? You're going to be happy. You're going to enjoy it, right? It just changed my context. You think of all the things from sport, and I just transfer those into business. And I go into a business right now. I go Strength Finder. I make them all do the Strength Finder.
You made me do one.
I made you do it. And I go, boom, I need to understand that, the personality, and guess what we're working on? Strengths. And I do the same thing with the company because we put them in their sweet spot. They go, wow, I love what I'm doing. I'm doing this, right? But no one looks at the world that way because we've all grown up with the report card and you work on the F, you know what I mean? And, oh, yeah. It's like me walking up to my daughter, Sarah, and say, what's this F in your report card? All the other marks are good. Oh, Dad, it's calculus, right? Mm-hmm. Well, how come you got such a terrible mark? Well, I hate the teacher. I hate the course. You know what I mean? And I don't like it, and I'm never going to use it again. So why am I going to do it, Dad? I don't care about it. Mm-hmm. And you know what? And then as a concerned parent, we have a teacher interview, and what do you think the teacher's going to talk about? The F, right? Yeah. How are we going to get that grade up, right? Or if it was a D to a C or whatever it was. And then she comes in and says, yeah, let's focus on this. So what do I do? I'm the good dad or bad dad. I take away her cell phone, mm-hmm. right? So she can focus on her calculus. I get her a tutor probably so she can get better marks in that. And now I just took away her phone. I gave her that. Now she hates the class. She hates the teacher, and she hates me. She hates, you know what I mean? But that's everybody works on the weaknesses, and I got taught at a young age to work on your strengths, right? Mm-hmm. It's just the mind shift right there.
I love that.
The same thing you do. Like, what do you want to work on, right? What you're good at, and guess what you do? How many people you got working for you now?
Many.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And what do you work on? Strengths.
Just the things I love doing and the things I'm good at.